What an incredible 24 to 48 hours it's been within the transfer window, within football itself. An absolute incredible past couple of days of mad news springing out here and there and everywhere. And of course, in this all new news live stream, we're going to be trying to talk about as much as possible, at least some of the bigger headlines that have been sprung around in the past 24 hours to 48 hours or so. We're talking Jordan Henderson. A deal has finally been agreed there between the two clubs, and Henderson looks like he's going to be on his way to Saudi Arabia. Josko Gvardiol. Apparently that's done and dusted. Apparently that's set to be made official imminently ahead of his move to Manchester City. Harry Kane will not be signing a new contract at Spurs, it seems. So Spurs have got a dilemma. Do they cash in on him this summer? Or do they just run down his contract and release him on a free next season? Harvey to Newcastle seems to be given the go-ahead at the same time that Alan Saint-Maximin to Saudi Arabia seems to be also picking up speed. Riyad Mahrez is off to Saudi Arabia as well. There's a bit of a common theme in this, to be honest. Saudi Arabia Riyad Mahrez is off to Saudi Arabia. Mark Guehi is seemingly a top target of Chelsea's this summer following the injury suffered to Wesley Fofana. And Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is set to join Marseille on a free transfer. A lot to digest, but hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream, another video. What a 24 to 48 hours it's been. What a couple of days it's been in terms of football, in terms of talking about football, in terms of everything. All news is just breaking and broken. The transfer window is picking up. Pre-season is well and truly underway as well. We are getting into the thick of it, people. And it's only going to get more and more intense and more intriguing from this point forward. A lot to talk about. A lot of big name players in that kind of mix of players that I was talking about. Andre Onana as well has also been done, dusted, and made official and confirmed on top of all of that footballing stuff. So that's done and dusted. Man United fans, get in the chat. Tell me how you feel about finally being able to call Andre Onana your own and your starting goalkeeper going forward. Could that have the knock-on effect to Dean Henderson perhaps going forward or someone else? Obviously, we know that Jan Sommer has been attracting the interest of Inter Milan, so maybe that one will now pick up speed for Inter Milan's point of view. But will the ripple and knock-on effect have on Dean Henderson finally going to Nottingham Forest on a permanent deal? We'll wait and see on that one. Lot to talk about, lot to digest. So without further ado, if you would please hit that like button if you're enjoying the video so far, if you're enjoying what we're going to be digesting and talking about in this video, that would be greatly appreciated, as well as obviously you subscribing to the channel if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as well as all that, of course, do get involved in the chat, do get involved in talking to me about anything that you want to talk about, whether it's in regards to some of the stories that I'm talking about, or whether it's in regards to some of the stories that you guys want to talk about. I would love to hear from you all throughout the entirety of this stream. But without further ado, let's get on with the stream. Let's get on with the footballing content. Lots to talk about. Where are we going to start? Well, let's start with Jordan Henderson, shall we? Let's start with Jordan Henderson, seeing as though I'm a Liverpool fan, I'm a little bit biased, and it's my show, so we're going to start with Jordan Henderson. During yesterday's pre-season friendly, Liverpool won that game. They played all right. Nothing really to write home about so far, but it was all about picking up some fitness, of course. During that game, the news breaks that Jordan Henderson has agreed, or Liverpool, should I say, have agreed a deal with Steven Gerrard's Al Ettifaq for the sale of Jordan Henderson. David Ornstein came out and said that Jordan Henderson set to leave Liverpool training camp after Al Ettifaq reached agreement in principle to sign 33-year-old 3-year deal in place for England midfielder still needs to be finalised, led by Steven Gerrard, of course, the new Al Ettifaq manager. It was news that we all sort of saw coming. In the end, there was obviously a bit of a talk that maybe things were not going at quite the speed that everyone would have liked. The Saudi Arabian team thought that they could have tracked Henderson on a free transfer. That wasn't to be the case. Liverpool wanted money. And it seems that Liverpool have got what they wanted. Fabrizio Romano followed this up with Liverpool will receive £12 million plus add-ons fee for Jordan Henderson from Al Ettifaq as deal has been agreed. Steven Gerrard already spoke to Hendo, and medical tests will be booked once documents are exchanged between all parties. So it does seem to be given the go-ahead. It does seem to be given the green light. Everything does seem to be in place for Jordan Henderson to be unveiled soon as a new Al Ettifaq player, playing under his former teammate of Steven Gerrard, of course. That was one of the major pulls, alongside, of course, quadrupling, I think, his wages that he's currently on at Liverpool. So, yeah, money does talk. Look, there's been a lot made about this situation. There's been a lot made about this scenario. From my point of view, I see Riyad Mahrez, and we'll get on to Riyad Mahrez a little bit later in a bit more detail, but I see Riyad Mahrez going for about 30 million. A guy who is a year younger than Jordan Henderson. So, okay, only slightly understandable. A year younger than Henderson, but he's going for 30 million, whilst Liverpool can only get 12 million. Why couldn't we have got more? These Saudi teams seem to be throwing a lot of money around at everybody else, and then they come to our lot, and we give them Fabinho for 40 million, and we give them Jordan Henderson for 12 million plus add-ons, which I'm assuming will take us around about the 20 million mark. So for me, I'm personally annoyed that we didn't get more money from this deal. I think we should have negotiated more. I think we should have played a bit more hardball with them. I know Henderson wanted to leave, but also he signed a new contract recently. Just saying. But yeah, like I say, we all saw this come in. A lot's been made of it, particularly because of obviously Jordan Henderson's stances on certain things that obviously Saudi Arabian culture is against. LGBT, that kind of thing. Obviously, money sort of aids that kind of blow, I guess. It's a difficult one, and look, I can't speak for Henderson, of course I can't. Henderson will have to give out his statement to obviously say why he decided to move to Saudi Arabia, why that was obviously right for him. Obviously, as far as, again, what money is concerned, that will set him and his family and friends and other family members and whatever else up for the rest of their lives. Like, they will not have to worry about money again in terms of that aspect. So for money purposes, it suits Henderson and his family right the way down to the ground. It won't change. Of course it won't, but it's a big culture change, and it's a big culture change for him. And obviously it's a big culture change for his family that they'll have to adjust to over there in Saudi Arabia. As far as what it means in a footballing sense, he links up with Steven Gerrard. Obviously, he's going to be joining a league that is growing in terms of reputation, that is growing in terms of their stature and going from strength to strength, with a lot of ambition behind it and a lot of intent behind this massive project that Saudi have kind of launched on this particular transfer window. So he's going to be a part of this machine that is only going to continue to grow, it seems. As far as the footballing sense, again, on the other side of things, Al Ettifaq get the player that they want. Gerrard gets his sort of right-hand man, so to speak. He gets the player there that will obviously understand that will understand him, a player that will obviously know him from their time at Liverpool, and everything else that goes along with that. And then on the Liverpool side of things, yeah, they get a bit of money, but they lose a big player, and it's a big player in terms of on and off the pitch. You know, I think Henderson would have had to put up with a bit more of a backseat role this season in terms of he wouldn't play every game. He wouldn't play all the games. He wouldn't play every 90-minute game. He'd play 20 minutes here, 25 minutes there, half an hour here, half an hour there, and maybe the occasional full game here and there, depending on the game at hand and the scenario at play, and obviously who needs to be rested, what's coming up next week, what's coming up in a few days' time, that kind of thing. That kind of thing would be what would take into account the kind of playing time that Jordan Henderson would have had this season, and hence why I think there was a little bit about his playing time that factored in to him obviously moving out of Liverpool. Money aside, and obviously linking up with Steven Gerrard aside, there was a little bit extra and another layer to add to why I think he wanted to leave as well. Couldn't he have just moved to another club in Europe? Maybe. But obviously, this is just the way that it's planned out. For me, like I say, Liverpool lose a leader. They lose a captain, obviously. They lose someone with age and experience, and they lose a big player in that dressing room, something that can't easily and naturally be that replaceable. It could harm Liverpool. It certainly could. I've said it time and time again on these streams where I've talked about this Henderson deal, that, in my opinion, age, experience, and leadership are things that are very underrated and overlooked in today's modern game. Everyone seems to think it's like FIFA, and it's just basically, you know, you swap out a player for a player, and it's pretty much the same, and it's pretty much interchangeable. It's not. It's not. And especially when you look at the Liverpool midfield as it is now, bringing in these youngsters, bringing up these youngsters from the academy, they're going to look towards the likes of Jordan Henderson. And obviously we lost James Milner already this summer, him as well, to be the kind of shining light, to be the sort of guidance, to be like the elder of the team, the senior members of the senior team, and to help them and guide them through, and to obviously give them their wisdom and their knowledge and their experience and know-how, and to help them guide and guide them through certain scenarios, certain situations, and certain games. You lose Milner already. You've already lost Bobby Firmino as well, another big name in that dressing room. Now you're losing Henderson. Fabinho is probably next out the door. As much as I pray and hope Liverpool have a game plan to obviously replace these two, I'm a little bit concerned. And I'm not going to lie, I am a little bit concerned as to why, as to how this is happening, the way that it is happening. Because don't get me wrong, we needed this change. We did need this change. But this change needed to be made gradually. This change did not need to be made all at once. We didn't need to get rid of Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Milner, Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, all in one transfer window. It needed to be done gradually across 2 or 3 years. Now it's being done all at the same time. I'm looking at a midfield that a couple of weeks ago was looking strong, was looking like it was going for a resurrection and a rebirth. And now I'm looking at it like it might be a bit soft. And whilst it might be set up perfectly, whilst this might be set up perfectly for the long term, and whilst this might be set up perfectly for future reference and for somewhere down the line maybe to be stronger and to be more resilient and to be more experienced, I can't help but think that for the here and now, which is a large part of what Liverpool need right now, it's not going to be good enough. And instead, what we're going to be replaced with is we're going to be replaced with another year of, let's see what next year brings. Oh, well, we're going for a transition. Let's see what next year brings. Because I can tell you this right now, I'm already seeing our defense going through that same process next year. If Van Dijk doesn't pick up, if we don't address the defense right now, I can see Van Dijk, depending on if like this season was a blip or whether he's going to get back to his best. If he doesn't, I can see Van Dijk declining. I can see Konate getting more injuries and declining. I can see Matip declining, Gomez declining, and then we'll be right where we are this summer right now. But in a year's time, we'll be right there again, but with a different area to focus on, which is the defense. And I'm just worried about that. Lightning Storm Entertainment, how you doing, my dude? Nice to see you on the stream. Thank you for coming along. I hope you are well, my friend. I think Liverpool struggle with nostalgia too. I understand what you're saying. You can bring in an experienced player who's better than Henderson and who is a leader. Absolutely. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not like it isn't completely replaceable. I do understand it's not like it isn't completely replaceable by any stretch of the imagination. My worry is just with it being a massive club like Liverpool, with it being in a team that that obviously under Jurgen Klopp over the past several years has been on this upwards trajectory from where Jurgen Klopp took over when they were like mid-table to obviously going to Champions League finals, to getting into the top four, to then challenging for the Premier League, and to then obviously winning those trophies. My worry is that you can rebuild it and do it all again. And it's not like we don't have leaders in that team. Van Dijk's a leader. Andy Robertson's a leader. Trent is going to be future captain. Mo Salah, future captains. Even the newcomer in Szoboszlai, I'm pretty sure he is the Hungarian captain at a under 23 level, I think, under 21 level, something along those lines. I'm not saying we don't have leaders in that team. What I'm saying is that in that midfield in particular, a key part, the whole kind of baseline of how Klopp likes to play his football, the kind of thing where if that midfield isn't working, the whole system falls apart. I just think it looks a little soft in terms of experience and leadership. That's my only concern. Like, I could be overlooked. I could be very much... I could be dwelling on this way too much. I could be very much overlooking this, like I would say, overestimating how important this may be. And I could be left wrong in a few weeks and months' time. And obviously, there's still a long way to go in this transfer window. But I just think it might be something that is a bit concerning going forward. Glad to know you're good, bro. We'd love to hear from you more on any of these stories, bro, or any stories that you want to talk about. Would love to hear from you, my dude. Glad you are doing well on this fine Thursday night. Like I say, I'm more concerned about the money aspect in this Henderson thing. I think we should have got more, especially when you consider that the Saudi Arabian teams are throwing money left, right, and centre, and big money at that on big players. My cause for concern there is just the money aspect, but I can understand it so much on a footballing scale as well. And I'm just praying and hoping that Liverpool have a plan to go forward where we're going to have a very active and busy end to this transfer window, because if not, I kind of worry. Because if we don't get a defensive midfielder, if we don't get another industrial midfielder, we need two midfielders now, in my opinion, to replace the two holes that are going to be left by Fabinho and Henderson. And then we at least need one, maybe two centre-backs. That's my concern, is that we need four players, at least, in my opinion, from now until the end of the transfer window. And I don't really see us doing that. Even if one is a loan, even if it's like we get three in permanently and when we get one in on loan. I know our loan deals don't necessarily work out brilliantly, but if it's someone who's smart, if it's someone that makes sense, I'm all for it. You never know what FSG will do, bro. So unpredictable. To an extent, yes. They're unpredictable in they're predictable in terms of if we are linked with a player that is ridiculous. For example, like when we were linked, when obviously all this came about, and then allegedly we were going to be linked with Caicedo, I didn't pay any attention to that. I knew exactly that was going to be absolute rubbish, so I did not pay attention to that. So they're predictable in that sense. I would love to have gone for Caicedo. Would love to have us to have shown some ambition and tried to hijack the deal from Chelsea. Would have loved it, but there was absolutely no way in my mind we were ever going to get Moises Caicedo. A right back too, yes and no. I wouldn't be against it, but I could also see as maybe, this is what I'm saying, if Benjamin Pavard is available, he's perfect because he could fit in with right centre back and right back, and it would be a perfect kind of versatility sort of role, player, and position for him. But again, we don't go after them. We don't go after these types of players who I think would be perfect for us. But yeah, that's just my concerns with Jordan Henderson. Fair play and good luck to him. Of course, he's going to go down as a Liverpool legend. He's been at the club for around about 12 years. He's won everything there is to win with the club. He's been a fantastic captain. He's been a great leader. And he's been a fantastic ambassador both on and off the pitch for Liverpool Football Club. We can't deny it. Very professional. Gets criticised a lot. Some of it fair, some of it unfair. I've said that time and time again as well. I find some of the criticism that he gets to be very unfair at times. I can't deny his work rate, his dedication to the project, and everything else that goes along with it. So fair play. Good luck to Jordan Henderson. About the off the pitch stuff in terms of obviously what he represents, who he represents, and everything along those lines. If he's going to try and be an ambassador for that over in Saudi Arabia, again, good luck to you. But at the same time, it does seem a bit strange that you would do all this and then you would sell out seemingly for money. Like I say, there might be more to it than meets the eye. There might be more to this story. There might be more to why he went to South Africa than maybe just money. But at the same time, I, for one, am a bit confused by it. But that's just all I have to say on this Jordan Henderson stuff. Hey, Ballum, how you doing, bro? Good to see you, my dude. Good to see you. Did you see the Keita injury tweet? I mean, you messaged at me, didn't you, bro? All I'll say is that, water's wet, the grass is green. And, no one's surprised. No one's surprised. I think the only one that's surprised is probably Naby Keita because he obviously said he obviously said that his injuries were behind him, which shows he's a liar. A shame to see Fabinho and Captain Hendo go. Thiago could go too, I think. I think we have to keep Thiago now because if we sell Thiago, we need to get another midfielder. And I don't see FSG pulling out their finger that much to buy 3 midfielders and a defender. That's just my thought. I'll unfollow John Henson on social media tomorrow, I think. I wait to see what he's going to put out in terms of his goodbye to the fans. That could be interesting. And I want to see what he if he kind of addresses why he's going to Saudi Arabia. So that could be very interesting as well. But we'll, of course, wait and see on that one. Fabinho leaving, that one could be imminent, it seems. That one could be imminent any day now. Josko Gvardiol, we're going to be talking about him next. Qatar should look at West Ham, buy them, should cost less. They have 2 million a year, about the same. Qatar won't buy Tottenham, no way. You know what, though? I see a lot of potential with Tottenham, you know. If some crazy, mad, bottomless pit of money consortium came in and bought Tottenham, I wouldn't be surprised because I honestly do think they've got a lot of potential. They've got arguably the best stadium in the world. They've got lot of potential there. They're in a good location. They're a sort of, I'm not going to say they're a sleeping giant, but they are a sort of sleeping, what's like one less down from a giant? What's one less down from a giant? A couple less down from a giant. I can't think. They're not a sleeping giant, but they're a sleeping slightly less than a giant. We'll call them that, slightly less than a giant. They have a lot of potential. West Ham are in London too, makes sense, along with South East London, Crystal Palace. I see the potential in Tottenham, but Daniel won't sell. Well, he won't sell. This is the thing, right? If Daniel Levy just left the footballing stuff to footballing people at Tottenham and he concentrated on the business side of the club or the assets that they have in terms of bringing in boxing fights, bringing in concerts, bringing in Formula One, bringing in, I don't know, the darts, bringing in, you know, put a swimming pool in there and have like the Olympic swimmers in there or whatever it may be. If you concentrate on the business side of Tottenham, he and Tottenham would make a fantastic partnership. They'll leave the footballing side to the club and they could win stuff on the pitch, and he could do the business side and he could be successful off the pitch. But he wants to be too much involved. That's just my thought and my take on it. Josko is a good signing for Manchester. I thought originally Benjamin Mendy would have played a part this season for Manchester. I wouldn't be surprised. I think they got rid of him when obviously all that came about, and it's, you know, he's sort of been cleared now, hasn't he? And he's back in football, playing in France now. It's always a delicate and risky kind of topic, but obviously if it's all genuine and it's all legitimate, and he has been found to be completely clear in the clear and innocent, it's such a shame that you'd suffer with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a shame that you would have part of your career taken away from you because of lies, because someone's trying to gain something, if that is obviously genuinely the case. Mason Greenwood seems a little different because obviously Mason Greenwood got back with the woman who originally accused him. And I'll say it again, in my personal opinion, it kind of says he's guilty, because what man in their right mind would get back with the woman that's basically cost them a few good years and promising years and, you know, crucial years of your career as a up and coming, highly rated, with a massive ceiling of a footballer, just to get back with your ex that accused you of all that stuff, and then to then go on and have a kid with them. It doesn't make sense to me. But if Mendy's genuinely in the clear and Mendy is genuinely innocent, then you can get back to doing what, of course, he does best and wants to do. So if that is to be the case, that is to be the case. Yeah, Josko Gvardiol. Romano came out yesterday with an exclusive. He said, Josko Gvardiol to Manchester City. Here we go. Agreement reached on the fee between City and Leipzig. Understand Gvardiol has completed the first part of his medical today. Deal on the verge of being signed. Gvardiol agreed personal terms 1 month ago with City. Moving fast. I thought this had sort of fell into a bit of a lull because there was a lot of talk about it, and then there was seemingly negotiations that were dragging its heels a little bit between the two clubs. And of course, when you're dealing with Leipzig, that tends to be the case because Leipzig are very good at playing hardball sometimes, and they're very good at dragging their heels themselves because they're not really they are a selling club, but they're not really in the market to sell, if you know what I mean. The contracts normally are decent and normally tied up very, very well, and they normally get big fees for their players because of that. And because of that, they know that they don't need to sell. So it's more about the buying club putting in an offer they simply cannot refuse. Or in Szoboszlai's case a few weeks ago, it was about matching his release clause. With Gvardiol, we knew that somewhere in the region of 100 million euros was going to be able to prize him away. City seemingly have their player, seemingly have their main target in terms of that centre-back area. It's unbelievable. They don't rest on their laurels, do they, City? They've just won a treble and they're still looking to reinforce and strengthen their squad. And I think with Gvardiol, it is a monumental, massive signing, not just for the price, but for the player he is. He is a young defender, a perfect modern-day defender, in my opinion, and he's only going to get better with age, experience, and, of course, playing on a better stage, a bigger stage, winning trophies, and playing around better players than he currently is. I think he's the perfect signing. I think he's an upgrade on that left centre-back area that they have now in Nathan Ake. Not saying Nathan Ake is terrible, and I think Nathan Ake had a very good season for City this past campaign, but Gvardiol coming in my opinion, is an upgrade for the right here and now, as well as for the future in terms of the ceiling that is very, very high in terms of Gvardiol's potential that he can reach. And I'm sure together with Pep Guardiola, for as long as it may be, they can help him reach that potential. In my opinion, solid choice. I've talked about this a fair amount, so I won't go over it too much. But Gvardiol to City does seem to be edging ever closer to being made done, dusted, and official, and is moving at quite a rapid rate to the point where maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, Gvardiol could be officially announced as a Manchester City player. Like I say, City don't rest on their laurels. They go from strength to strength. They reinforce. They go again. They refresh some things. And they continue to splash the cash. And for me, this is an incredible signing, a very good signing. And if I'm to be neutral and honest, I admire it. If I am to be the kind of fan I am, I'm looking at it and I'm going, why can't my club do something similar? Jesus Christ. It's frustrating. It's frustrating looking at everybody else and doing this kind of business, and we're looking at selling to Saudi Arabia of all places for peanuts. Annoying. I won't be surprised if Mitro leaves Fulham. Yeah, that does seem to be the case. He seems to want out of Fulham for whatever reason. Seems to want to take a payday in Saudi Arabia. So if that is to be the case, then that shows where his intentions lie. Fulham manager Marco Silva is wanted by a team there now. Again, if the money's there, he may go, but I doubt it. Leipzig recent signing being interesting. They will try for the Bundesliga next season. Take care, man. Talk to you soon. Take care, brother. Take care, mate. I appreciate you coming by and contributing to the stream. And yeah, we'll see how Leipzig go. I don't know how far Leipzig can go. And obviously, these players that they bring in are given the platform to obviously go and express themselves. Sorry. Are given the platform to go out and express themselves, and then when they do, bigger clubs come in and swoop in for them. Bigger sharks in the ocean come in and they take them right off of their hands. So we'll wait and see. Xavi Simons on loan from PSG for Leipzig is interesting to see how he does. Is that genuine? Is that done and dusted? Because I know that there was a lot of interest in him, because obviously I know that he's just come back to PSG because they had a ridiculous loan buyback clause in there. Ridiculous buyback clause for some reason. But I know that obviously there's been a lot of talk about him going on loan. Is that genuine? Has that actually happened? I'll have to have a look after this. But yeah, they have Fabio Carvalho too. Yep, a lot. There's a lot going on at Leipzig this summer. What's my name? Unana. What's my name? Happened now too. Yep, Onana. Done, dusted, signed, sealed, and delivered for Manchester United. We'll just briefly touch upon this. I think for United, they're happy to get this one over the line and done and dusted. And I think this is a massive game changer for them, as I've said time and time again, in terms of how they want to play their football and playing out from the back. A very good shot stopper, brilliant with the ball at his feet. He's going to help them beat the press, beat the lines, and try and transition defense into attack in a more fluid and more accurate way of doing so. In my opinion, goes right behind Alisson as the second best goalkeeper in the Premier League division. I think he's just that good. And, you know, again, as a rival, I don't like it. I don't like seeing United have any kind of success or feel like they're having any kind of success. But at the same time, if I am to be neutral and honest about this, as I always try and be, and I always try and see things from both angles and both perspectives, I can't help but admire what a fantastic transfer that is for Manchester United. So fair play to Erik ten Hag and his side for that. Next up, we are talking Harry Kane. Harry Kane, the news coming out today is that Kane wants out of Tottenham. Harry Kane will not sign a new contract to Tottenham and wants to leave. Bayern Munich are currently leading the race for the England striker, but no deal has been agreed yet. We also know PSG were involved, but allegedly Kane has said no to PSG. He only wants Bayern as of right now. What do we make of this? What do we make of this? Because this has now left Tottenham in a big decision. I still think in Daniel Levy's mind, he was convinced that he could convince Harry Kane to stay at Spurs. I think that he, in his deluded, potato-headed mind, was convinced that he could convince Kane to stay at Spurs. Maybe that was partly down to maybe bringing in England teammate James Maddison. Maybe that was partway down to bringing in all these players and opening his checkbook this summer. Did he actually open his checkbook or did someone steal it? Only time will tell. Obviously, there was talk about bringing in centre-backs and there was talk of Tapsoba and there was talk of Van der Ven. I claim that Tottenham could have acted like a bigger club, like a big club in this scenario and got both. But apparently it seems to be one or the other. And then it seems to be one or the other. And then they're going to be bringing in a couple of youngsters along the way as well, which is baffling again and just shows you that they don't have a clue what they're doing at Spurs sometimes. But yes, it does seem to be the case right now that Harry Kane is going to be leaving Tottenham, whether it's this summer or next summer. The question really is whether Tottenham will cash in on him this summer or whether they will let his contract run down for a free transfer next summer. Big questions to be asked there then. For me, it only makes sense for them to cash in on him whilst they have the opportunity to do so. As much as that may be hard to do, as much as it may be tough to do, it seems only right that they would cash in on him now and get the money, use the money to reinvest in the squad, maybe bring in a striker that is going to bag you the majority of like the 25 to 30 goals a season that Kane normally gets. Let's face it, you're not going to be losing all 25 to 30 goals. They'll be spread around the team. They'll be spread around his replacement. But he's not going to live up to that same height and expectation and level that, of course, Kane set the bar at. But you are going to get probably half of that or maybe just over half of that from whoever obviously Tottenham decide to bring in as his replacement. There's already been talk about the likes of Kolo Muani. There has also been talks of Dusan Vlahovic. Both are seemingly good standard replacements, I guess you say. Not perfect, not high quality, good standard, but would they want to drop their level to Spurs with all due respect? Kolo Muani maybe, but Kolo Muani has also been talked about as maybe having other interests from elsewhere that may be higher than Tottenham and maybe also of a Champions League level that may appeal to him more. Dusan Vlahovic is another one similar who may also have interest from Champions League level clubs that may be obviously better than Spurs. So there's a lot to answer with Spurs this summer. There's a lot to talk about with Spurs in terms of not only this saga, but in other sagas as well. Maybe the knock-on effect that maybe selling Harry Kane will have if that is to happen this summer, of course. A lot to talk about there. We've talked about it a lot, so do go back and check other videos and other stuff where we talked about Harry Kane if you want more of my thoughts. But yeah, it does seem Kane wants out, and it's going to be very intriguing to know what Tottenham decide to do with his future. Maybe the price that Bayern may offer may not match up to the price that Tottenham set, but the question there is, are Kane's goals and what he could potentially carry this team to this season. Are they worth more in one single season than what Bayern would offer right now? That's the question. That is that is overall the question that Spurs have to answer, because if it's worth more, then keep him and then let him go on a free at the end of the campaign. If it's not, cash in on him now whilst you have the opportunity to do so. They have to really work that out from that point of view. Onwards. Let's talk Harvey Barnes next. David Ornstein came out yesterday and said exclusive. Newcastle have today reached agreement with Leicester to sign Harvey Barnes. Deal for 25-year-old winger worth in region of £38 million. Personal terms won't be a problem. Another key target of head coach Eddie Howe landed. Interesting one. Very interesting one, this one. It's an interesting one, basically, from the fact that obviously St. Maximin seems to be leaving. And they talked about St. Maximin, and they basically said that they didn't want him to leave, but in order for the club to evolve and progress, they had to sell in order to buy, and they had to obviously trade for financial fair play reasons and what have you. In my opinion, as I said yesterday, I believe that Harvey Barnes is an upgrade of St. Maximin. I genuinely do, in terms of output. I love watching St. Maximin. I love it when he's on form because he's explosive, he's electrifying, he's exciting to watch, he's quick, he's fast, he's skillful, he's got flair. I love watching him play. But I also hate watching him play because his output and his finishing and his decision-making in the final third often can be left to be desired. I think Harvey Barnes is better in the final third in terms of all of those aspects that I have question marks over St. Maximin on. He may not be as quick. He may not be as skillful. He may not have as much flair. He may be more direct. But in the final third, when it comes to decision-making, I think he's better and more consistent than what St. Maximin is. And I think that this is a worthy upgrade. And I think it's perfect for Harvey Barnes, of course. He's going to get Champions League football. He's going to go into a team that is on an upwards trajectory, that is only going to get better with the money invested and everything else that's going along with how this Newcastle project is really taking off and has obviously been put into the fast lane with how well Eddie Howe has overachieved so far. In obviously his short time as being Newcastle manager. I think this is a perfect move for Harvey Barnes. I think it's a perfect move for Newcastle. I think this is a brilliant move all round for everybody involved. And it's going to be interesting to see how this one develops. But Harvey Barnes seems to be in at Newcastle. Alan St. Maximin seems to be out of Newcastle. And let's face it, he's not going to be too bothered about it either. Like, he's going to be going to Saudi Arabia. He's going to be earning himself a lot of money. Is he going? I think he's going to the same club as Riyad Mahrez, I believe. So he's going to be linking up with Riyad Mahrez, if that is to be the case. I believe that's the case. I think that is the case. I could be wrong. There's so many Saudi Arabian teams I'm only just learning about this summer. So that team is going to be scary in the Saudi Arabian League, I'm sure. You got Riyad Mahrez on one side. You got St. Maximin running at you on the other side. That's going to be pretty scary if you're in the Saudi Arabian League. So if you do follow that league, yeah, there you go. That's something to try and handle and contain yourself with. But yeah, we'll see, obviously, how Harvey Barnes develops at Newcastle. That one should be done, dusted, and over the line pretty soon, you would imagine. Talking of Riyad Mahrez, exclusive from David Ornstein again, Al Ali have reached a total agreement with Manchester City to sign Riyad Mahrez in a deal worth €30 million plus €5 million add-ons. 32-year-old Algerian international set to have medical on Thursday before signing 3-year contract and conditional fourth. So I did say earlier that obviously it was like 30 million. It's 30 million euros. So it probably works out at around about 22, 25 million, maybe somewhere, give or take. Plus the extras will take it up to roughly that 28, 30 million pound mark, somewhere around about there. I still find it weird that a 32-year-old Riyad Mahrez could go for that amount of money and we're selling Henderson for 12. I find it a bit weird, but that is just me. We all knew this was happening. Mahrez out the door at City. Pep Guardiola obviously wants to freshen things up and get rid of the old and come in with the new. They lose a big player in certain aspects. They lose a player on that right wing position. They lose a sort of, I guess you'd say, leader in that role, an African icon, I guess you'd say, in certain respects. But at the same time, like I say, he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. He's going to pick up a massive paycheck that's going to set him right on his way to retirement. And then in a few years' time, he can obviously retire into the sunset with a very, very fat and wealthy bank account, even more so than probably what he already has at his disposal right now. We knew this was happening. City obviously like to keep things fresh. Pep Guardiola likes to keep things rotated. Riyad Mahrez out the door. We knew this was going to happen. So fair play for that one. What next? Mark Gahey. Quick one on this one. Interesting from, I think it was, yes, Jacob Steinberg. It was interesting from Jacob Steinberg yesterday. Now, if you've been following this transfer window and you've been following Jacob Steinberg, you'll know that obviously this guy has been dropping some big bombs himself in terms of transfer stories left, right, and centre throughout the entirety of this transfer window so far. He took to Twitter yesterday from The Guardian to say that Mark Gahey is on Chelsea's shortlist as they consider whether to sign a defender following Wesley Fofana's injury. Now, of course, we talked about this a bit yesterday when we were talking about Harry Maguire, that Wesley Fofana has, of course, suffered a massive ACL injury that is going to rule him out for seemingly the majority or maybe all of next season, depending on obviously how his recovery goes. Seems to be all. It's very unfortunate, especially for a guy that's already suffered so many bad injuries. Well, 2 or 3 bad injuries early on in his career as well. So it's unfortunate for Wesley Fofana. But of course, football does move on. Yesterday, we reported or talked about the reports that Chelsea were being linked with Harry Maguire of Manchester United. We talked about how Pochettino was a big admirer of Maguire when he was obviously the Tottenham manager, and how that interest has seemingly carried on over with him to being the Chelsea manager. We also questioned the validity and the legitimacy and the truthfulness behind whether or not that report was genuine or not, because obviously, does it just make sense? Is it just a defender that is obviously wanting or wanted out at Manchester United by the fans, by the manager, it seems, and everybody else after losing the captaincy to, of course, go and join a team that is in need or maybe in need of a defender following a huge injury? And, of course, then you throw in the previous link by Pochettino for Maguire when, of course, he was a Leicester player. Pochettino was at Spurs. Does it all just sort of make too much sense for there not to be a story there? We question the validity of that. Well, Steinberg has come out and said that Mark Gahey is on Chelsea's shortlist. So this one could be one to look out for the future. Gahey, of course, plays at Crystal Palace right now, and of course would be returning to Chelsea if a move is to materialise here. We know that because obviously Gahey left Chelsea. He went on a couple of loan spells at, I believe, Swansea, before going to Crystal Palace permanently under Patrick Vieira. Gahey in the past couple of years has really started to come into his own in that centre-back position in what has been a fresh-looking and younger-looking Crystal Palace side in recent years under Patrick Vieira, of course. He really struck up a very good partnership on that left-hand side with Tariq Mitchell. And those two really hit it off and obviously were growing into their own, like I say, and really starting to make a name for themselves in this division, and obviously been taking turning a lot of heads, should we say, in that aspect. So it'll be interesting to see whether Chelsea or not do anything about this. We obviously know the fact that Levi Colwill now will probably be elevated up into that fast lane position, not only just because of the interest he's picking up from the likes of Brighton and Liverpool, of course, but of course now that the injuries occurred, he will definitely be getting more game time in a Chelsea shirt, you would imagine, if, of course, he wants that. Maybe, just maybe, Mark Gahey could be a guy to look out for in this transfer window. Should Chelsea, of course, decide to go after a centre-back in, obviously, the absence of Fofana. And, of course, again, we wish Fofana a speedy recovery. Final story, we'll wrap it up. Obviously, there's been a lot to talk about and a lot to digest. Thank you to everyone who's been involved so far. If you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. Thank you all so much for that. Can't say how much I appreciate each and every single one of you. But finally, we're going to end on Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, this obviously is a story we talked about a little bit before as well, and we talked about how Aubameyang is dead wood at Chelsea. He has surplus to requirement, and he will be leaving Chelsea. What we didn't really expect was a move to Marseille. There was obviously a lot of talk about him going to Saudi Arabia, and we thought that Chelsea would expose their Saudi Arabian contacts yet again to signing another deadwood player for big money that they can shift off of their wage books and obviously get a bit money in for him. Instead, it's Marseille who have decided to take him. Romanos tweeted yesterday saying Pierre Aubameyang has agreed to join Olympique Marseille. Here we go. Alba will sign 3-year deal as called 2 days ago until June 2026. Chelsea will let him leave for free. Told Alba will arrive tonight, as in yesterday, last night, camp, then undergo medical test on Thursday. Done deal. So it does seem like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to be officially unveiled imminently as a brand new Olympique Marseille player, pending a medical, of course, that is probably taking place as we speak or has already taken place earlier on today. Again, it's a good move by Chelsea. It's a ruthless clear out that Chelsea are putting forward this summer, but it's obviously a needed one. It's a very much a needed clear out that Chelsea have been needing for a few years and is now undergoing to such a drastic level. It'll be interesting again to see what the response is. Is this going to be Chelsea just clearing out the deadwood and now they can just go out and spend again? Is this going to be about Chelsea sizing up their squad for next season, maybe sizing up some of the academy players and the young players that they brought in over the past year and seeing if they're going to be ready to obviously take the reins in the first team? It's going to be very intriguing to see how Chelsea develop from this point forward. And I look forward to obviously seeing how they do so. But guys, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of any of the stories that I talked about? Any of the stories that you guys want to talk about for future videos? Do leave your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, in the chat, in the comment section, anywhere. Would make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up. Enjoy the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Very much appreciated as always. I've been Fletch. This has been another all new news live stream. Thank you all so much for coming, guys. Thank you all for the comments as well from Ballum and from... I just want to make sure I get your name right. Lightning Storm Entertainment. Thank you guys for coming along and for contributing as well. Thank you very much. Always appreciated. Always good to talk to you and hear from you. Otherwise, like I say, thank you all again, guys. Appreciate it. I've been Fletch. This has been another all new news live stream, and I will see you speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever the hell it will be. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. See you again soon.